Hi, welcome back to FutureFast. And Varad, once again, thank you so much for being here. And we'll jump straight into the conversation because we've already had a brief introduction. And those of you who have missed hearing the background on where Varad's journey has been so far till now, I urge you to look back at the uh, podcast that was released on Monday. And Varad, so coming to what are you doing now?
Yeah,
Uh,
thank, thank you once again, Nanju, for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about the present, what I'm doing at present, and also, talk about what has been the traction we've been creating for other entrepreneurs. So this is, when I was building various startups, we noticed there were some challenges, right? I did mention to you, I referred to something called the three myths of entrepreneurship. The first myth, the myth is called as build it and they will come. That is, many entrepreneurs think that they have something very unique that nobody in the world has, and people are going to flock to them. It could be customers, it could be investors. Just about everybody will flock to them, right?
Good.
That's the biggest myth. It is
True.
not going to happen. For every idea, I tell you, I have seen there are 10 other better ideas that we see in the world, and they're already in the market. So this is one myth I want to straight away uh, as a debunk it, and then say, look, be more realistic. Do whatever you are doing with conviction, and don't have that arrogance. That whenever you have the arrogance, your abilities get affected. It also is going to dent your efforts. It's kind of, let's say, you cannot give you 100%. So that is what I wanted to tell you, that the first thing to become is humble. The first um, hallmark of a great entrepreneur is to be humble, right? And so the humility will help you to grow to greater heights, because you don't have the other negative energies that are going to pull you down, right? So I call these arrogance, these kind of other negative energies as draw. They draw you down, and they kind of drag you, and you are not able to go at full force, right? So I want to bring it up by saying the first myth is that. The second myth, we all talk about, self-made entrepreneur. I'm sorry, this is the second biggest myth. There is nothing called self-made entrepreneur. All of us are learning from other entrepreneurs, their success, their failures, and that's why there's a old saying called as you know all of our entrepreneurs are made up of thousands of other entrepreneurs. Like, we are learning from others, their failures and
Yeah,
success.
consciously or subconsciously, the learning always.
Exactly. So that's the second myth, right? And the third one, which I wanted to also bring it up, is that uh, we think by collaborating, somebody is going to steal your idea, or somebody is going to, take advantage of you. No, sorry. Uh, the more you collaborate, the better it is, the better chance you have to succeed. And so that is the third myth. By collaborating with others, by partnering with others, by opening up, your IP, your knowledge, by sharing it with others, you are going to nurture your ideas, right? The other thing you always hear from entrepreneurs is that, hey, it's my baby. I will not share it with anybody. So if it's your baby, all the more reason for you to nurture it and grow it, and not, try to, let us say, shelter it, and try to protect it too much. It's not going to help you. So these are the three things, I want to first bring it up. And so, coming back to the question of what you're doing now, Nanju, I want to bring it up saying, when we were building these companies, we realized a lot of challenges startups face. One could be that how to find the first customer, right? Who's going to buy from you, who's going to pay to you. The second could be who's going to, back you, right? This journey, because there comes a time you need some runway, you need to recruit people, you need a lot of resources. Who is going to fund you? So, we were thinking, me and my other co-founders in these companies that we built, we were thinking that we should do something for these entrepreneurs of now and the future. So that's why, we created this program at UC Berkeley, where you can build startups without investors' money. And so these VCs, I would call like the VC approach or the entrepreneurship driven through investor community, actually gained currency in 2015, around about 2016 or so. Prior to that, if you see all entrepreneurship all over the world, used to be primarily self-funded, or they used to bootstrap, somehow struggle, find their way, and then get some customers and then grow it, right? So I want to bring it up that you can build companies, you can build startups without taking money from any investor. And it is so important because you see the ratio, or I would call the success rate of startups raising money is 1 in 100. Suppose there are 100 startups going to pitch to an investor, only one get invested. What about 99? And I also gave you in one of my earlier talks, right? I mentioned to you that 95% of the startups are failing, which means you take on a global level, and you look at the success rate, it's only 5% who succeed. So this means that the other, say 95%, either didn't get money at all, but got some money, but didn't get follow-on money, right? So what happens is there are different types of the investment failures that happens, because many times the follow-on funding, let's say that I'm a fund, let us say, right? My success is measured on the follow-on funding I can bring to my portfolio. So that's how it is measured. And it goes on like that. So it is like I would say like a baton passing. You need to continuously raise funds, maybe like from early stage, you would go to pre-series A, series B, like that. Okay, so all the way right up to exit. Now maybe listing like an IPO, right? So if any of this in this chain is broken, the startup is going to fail. And so what I'm trying to tell you is that large number, like 95%, don't make it. And so what is the answer for them? The answer is that you need to build your company without investors' money, right? You cannot look at. So then the question comes, who will help them? It's obviously the market. It's obviously the industry that has to support. And that is how we built this program. So that's the thesis behind this, the 100 Open Startups, which is a ranking for the best startups in the world. And this is sector agnostic. So we have about 24 verticals. So the way we did it was we analyzed the reasons for failures of this. I mentioned to you 95% failures, right? So when we did the deep analysis with the biggest names in the academia in entrepreneurship, like Stanford, Harvard, you look at MIT Sloan and so on. So we partnered with 15 of them and did a research, and we found majority of the failures out of this 95%, almost like 60%, you can say roughly, is due to lack of market fit, which means entrepreneurs and startups built startups and companies which has no need for their product or service. They built certain products, but they have no need in the market. And this is one of the biggest reasons for failures. And why? It's because there's nobody to buy that. Right? And they built it out of their enthusiasm, or they had some knowledge about it, prior knowledge about it, and they built it. And they thought, there's a market for it, right? So this is going back to the first myth: build it and they will come, right? So
Right.
that's what I'm coming back to, saying that we have to take a different approach. The approach is, if you build solutions and products and start for problems, just searching for your problems, right? Where's the problem? Where's the problem? I have a solution. Solutions searching for problems is doomed to fail. And so the other approach, which is problem solving approach, is the right way to go. That is, you look at around you. It could be, utilities, it could be government, it could be, industry. it could be anybody, right? So look at what problems they're facing. And if you can solve that problem, right, then it is something which, we can fix it. Like, um, you find a problem and then you solve the problem, and the solution is adopted, then you got a first customer, right? So it could be B2C, it could be B2B. B2C means
Yeah.
like you and me.
And
Whereas
you also bring in the companies here, right? In the 100 Open, I think
that's what.
that's
So
there.
that's what I'm coming to. So what we did was, if you look at, it could be an individual customer, then it's a B2C. You're looking at consumers. It's a industry you're selling to, or if you're selling to a company, then it's B2B. So we noticed that at that point in time, in 2006, 2007, we noticed there is enough and more of investors for B2C. Why? Because B2C have a faster cycle, like a development cycle, and then you are trying to exit in 3 to 4 years or 5 years. It's doable. So if you know I'm talking about the Ubers, if you know the Airbnb, these are all great examples of B2C, right? Whereas if you see B2B, it's not harder because you're working with the enterprise. The cycle time, this gestation is much longer, and it goes through several cycles of validation before they buy the product. They want to make sure it's very stable. It is something which is not there in their portfolio before adopting it. So what happens is the investors are always available to support B2C, but the same number of investors that are there in the B2C are not available for B2B. And so that is a different challenge that we face when you're building something for the enterprise or building something for, like I said, for the industry. The gestation period is longer. That's the one big challenge. The second challenge is that you don't get that many investors supporting you. And it is, a lot more harder because it's innovation driven. And, you need to have an IP, you need to have patents, so many, I would say, tick boxes you need to tick before you become a B2B, successful startup. So that is when, we thought these people are kind of shortchanged, right? The B2B startups are shortchanged, the deep tech startups are shortchanged. Let's do something about it. And this is where, like I said, we brought the industry to support. So the industry becomes a resource that the startups can tap into. It could be lab facilities, could be mentoring, it could be, some kind of support they can provide in the early stage, validating it basically, right? So the industry will validate, then it's also becoming easier for getting you the investment. Like, if you go to let's say, like you are an investor for a minute, and I tell you that I met so and so industry, and they said, I'm going to, back you up. This is a very interesting innovation. And I take this message to you, you're definitely going to write a check because you see that I got a validation, right? As long as you see the proof for the validation, you're definitely going to invest. So this is how we built it, to say that, if there's a problem solving approach, number one, number two, an industry is going to validate it, then it becomes easier for the investors to also make a decision. So it's a series of validations, so to say, right? And once you have that kind of process in place, it becomes much easier for the companies to grow. And then you get that investment. Let us say, now coming back to you being an angel investor, Nanju, now you are going to happily write a check for 100K or something, and I then build this product and go back to the same industry and say, look, I got what you wanted, now buy it. So now what happens is, it's the first validation came from the industry. Then the investor validated it saying, hey, you have some kind of backing from the industry, I'm going to put money. Now with that backing, I go back to the industry and say, look, I got that investment, seed investment or angel investment, and I bought this product to this level. Can you test it? And tell us whether this is something which you can accept. So I'm just saying, it's a journey, right? Where you kind of go with a certain process of validating. So the process is, like I'm telling you, a series of validations, right? And so if you go through this, different people in the ecosystem trusting you and helping you, then you can build a bulletproof startup. So that's how we built the 100 Open Startups. I'm happy to tell you today, it's nearly 16 years after we started it, and we have outperformed top 4% of the VCs in the US. What we set out to do was that you can build startups without investors' money. We proved that. Number two, we also outperformed the top 4% of the US VCs, which grows to say that if you do it in a certain structured way, you can achieve the objective. We created one unicorn as well. 20 startups became Series A, and then 7 became M&A, and so on, right? So this is a phenomenal success story that we created.
How is the India journey in this? How is the Indian ecosystem supporting you with this?
So that's a good question, Nanju. Thank you so much. I wanted to say that, when I was doing all this, 2015 is when we introduced the 100 own startups in India. And then when I look at it, the gap between Indian startups and the international startups, especially in the deep tech and B2B, is really wide. That's mainly because of the cultural issues. I noticed that many times our entrepreneurs and startups say that the product is complete or the solution is complete. And when it goes to execution, it is far from that. Like we are only 60% of the way, still 40% to complete. But we tend to be a little bit hyperbolic about it. And, we say that it's already done. And then with the industry overseas, you get only one chance, right? So over the time, this is one of the reasons, right? We as a country never succeeded as a product country, is because we tend to become hyperbolic, and without the product being complete. I'm talking about specifically deep tech, specifically relating to B2B related startups. You see very less number of companies coming out of India, and that is why I brought this program to India, so that we can accelerate. So I started different acceleration programs to coach entrepreneurs. So
that's the gain.
I'm sorry.
That's the gain.
Yeah. The gain is one of the accelerators, and prior to that, right, I have the Startup 360, and I've been running also another program between Silicon Valley and India. So there are multiple programs I run to bring that change and bring that kind of culture where even if we're 100% complete, we have to be humble about it and say no, it's only 80% complete. And that's the culture we need to bring here, because in your enthusiasm to go to market, or you want to say that you're done when it is not done, you go and pitch to customers, then the customers try to test it, and they try to use it. It is not meeting the requirement. So
correct, and it's not coming back.
Yeah, the execution is the biggest problem we see, in India, and that's something I wanted to address through these accelerators.
So, anything you want to give a shout out about these accelerators to prospective startups, entrepreneurs?
Sure. So the one of the programs, right, we run, there are multiple programs we run. So I would say one of the programs we run is basically to coach and mentor the entrepreneurs of today and also tomorrow to, let's say, kind of do an audit about, let's say, they have a certain product offering or, some innovation they bring out. We wanted to do some more, I would say, thorough check about how, let's say, rigorous their technology is, how, say, I would call it like a, stress test. So we do certain types of audits to do with the IP,
focus is on deep tech.
Correct. We do it on deep tech because, see, today, you see, that's what I told you, right? There are so many others in the ecosystem supporting B2C. If you look at, consumer-oriented businesses, there are so many others doing it. So we didn't want to go there because, we want to create innovation out of India.
Correct.
And see, the services is getting us revenue, no doubt. It is getting us business, no doubt. But the future lies in IP. the future lies in creating products out of India, right? So that is one of the reasons we've been focusing only on deep tech, and it also goes very well with the industry that we are aligned with, right? Nearly 9,000 corporations are there in the program, and they all want to support deep tech. They all want to source this kind of innovation. And so that is why we chose this. And that is why I see this challenge, right? The challenge is, like I said, people build it to a certain level, but then they don't know how to commercialize it, how to make it attractive for the market. So we bring those interventions through this program, like a 3 months acceleration program, and we address it certain sessions we do, so that the product becomes far more acceptable in the global market, and then bring certain experts, for example, to do with sales, or to, for example, to perfect your product. Bring experts who would then coach them and mentor them.
So how long is this duration?
It's about 12 weeks. And we've been noticing that the ideal time could be about 16 weeks in practice, but the goal is to make it within about 12 weeks.
So how does startup qualify for it? What should they be doing to qualify for it?
So we do certain checks to ensure that people build products, right? There are a lot of products, but it has to have some opportunity. They should have, I would say, some kind of a future, in the international markets, where the kind of assistance and the support we are talking about, we'll be able to fulfill that. And certain gaps they have, for example, they've been addressing certain markets here. It's difficult paying customers in India, as you know, right? B2B, it's very difficult to find. So what we do is to figure out
their readiness to go to US market. That's the key.
Yeah, so the readiness, correct. So we are figuring out, like, if you ask me, these are the things we do, is through.
Are you also looking at Web3? I'm just curious. Web3, are you also looking at Web3?
Yeah, so we are looking at across the board all technologies, right? So when I say deep tech, anything to do with tech, we definitely look at it. And I would say certain areas have better focus, let me say, like healthcare, because healthcare is in demand all over the world. So that is one area we definitely address. Then we look at industry 4.0 or manufacturing. So this is right for every industry, right? Whenever they are in manufacturing, or they are doing something for the world, they want to mass produce. So you need to have better technologies. So this is where I see that what I just mentioned to you about industry 4.0, or the smart manufacturing, etc. So this is an area where a lot of opportunities exist, and everybody's trying to do very innovatively, in a very efficient way. They want to bring out products into the market. And this is an area where India has got a great future. And it is interesting, right? A few days back, I was reading that today India is regarded as the number 2 manufacturing destination for mobiles after China.
Right. Well, what are your fears looking at the kind of businesses that you work with in the fast-changing world? What are your fears from a point of where we need to start focusing and preparing better?
See, I don't want to create any fear psychosis, right, amongst the people who are watching here. So I want to say that disruption is going to be around. If you think that there's not going to be any disruption, you are living in a fool's paradise, right? So it's better to be prepared that whatever you're going to do today, right? You disrupted something and came out as an entrepreneur, and somebody is going to disrupt you. So that is the way it is. The world is going to be, and the time you accept that, the time you've accepted that that's going to happen, you become more innovative. So that is what I wanted to bring it up to all the people in the audience, that accept that we've been talking for many years now, at least as I know it, like 7-8 years. Accept failures, right? So we've been coaching people, coaching the ecosystem. Enough has been said, saying that, hey, accept failures. There's nothing wrong. But now I'm saying that is over, right? We are all now accustomed to accepting failures, right? It's no more a great deal. But I'm saying now you have to accept disruption. That is, you have to have that open mindedness and the mindset to think.
So, can I put it this way? Today you're doing well, but tomorrow you will fail. So prepare for that.
Absolutely. And I tell you, the success that you have today doesn't mean guarantees you success in the future.
Future.
No, it's not going to. And um, you know, like I said, the moment you realize that realization comes to you that you can be disrupted anytime, and you are always aware of it, then you're better prepared to deal with it, right? So I'm going to tell you, all those entrepreneurs watching here, that yes, be prepared. You're going to be disrupted. And guess what? That's another opportunity. So when you get disrupted, you can bring another innovation to disrupt the disruptor. So this is the way the world is going to evolve continuously.
Correct.
And we have seen over the years, from the time we were driving bullock carts, or, the horse-drawn carriage, we moved on to autonomous driving, right? So every step you see how it got disrupted, and newer types of, we call this mobile, making you automotive, and, making you mobile. The technology has been evolving, right? And that's about every sector. So that is what I want to tell you
Are
all,
you
that,
looking at stitching? You all in our earlier conversation, you were telling about the book and water scarcity. Uh, See, I think I wrote a article or a blog, if you will, almost 10 years ago, saying in 15 years, Bangalore will die, suggesting that we will dry up all our groundwater. So
yeah,
from that point, we are 3 years away from my prediction.
yeah.
So,
So
uh,
I will tell you,
so are
I will
you
tell,
looking at encouraging startups in this space, in the
yeah,
water tech, anything coming up here
absolutely,
for you,
Nanju.
okay?
So Nanju, certain things in life, right? We need, water is one, right? We need water, we need food, we need air to breathe, and so on. So there are certain, I would call, like, the basic things in life we need. And if the startups can focus in cleaning it up or making it more livable, those startups are going to succeed in a big way. And that is what we call today as sustainability. We call it as circular economy. There are many terms being used, but a lot has changed. Man is responsible for all this, right? So today, whatever we are in today, like for example, right, some years ago, I was at a conference where somebody talked about organic farming. And so one guy came up and said, "What is organic farming?" Till 1950, everything was organic farming. And only in 1950 onwards, these chemical fertilizers came and was introduced by companies. I don't want to name them here, but I'm just saying it is the people who started it, and people are responsible,
And
right?
funnily, in India, what took farmers away from organic farming was called green revolution. So, ironic, but yeah, true.
So true, so true. And it's actually led to brown revolution, so to say, right? It has all gone to, I don't know what to call it. It has all become desert now, because see, the over chemical usage has made the soil acidic, unfit for farming, and the water table also has been affected. Now, coming back to water table, there is a book. I think there's a lot of work also done by the World Economic Forum, by UN. So many agencies have done it. It is something worrisome. They're saying 50 cities in the world are in the danger of going underwater
Bangalore
within
is one of them.
next 5 years. And so that includes some of our cities here in India, including Chennai, including Mumbai. Bangkok is one of the earlier cities affected. And it is all due to, like what you pointed out, is the man's greed of taking away all these water from the ground. We call it, like, the local parlance, right? This bore well, right? So people have been boring wells on the Mother Earth. She's been so kind.
Yeah,
Uh,
draining out lakes and water bodies, and it's crazy
yeah,
close.
and in man's greed, we have done everything, and so when the water is taken out, it's all natural, right? So when you take it out, there's a structure that is formed. When the water is staying there. When you remove that water, there's a gap created, right? There's a vacuum that's created. So the soil sinks to fill that gap. And that is how the cities are sinking. And I'm telling you, uh, permanently, right? The cities like your Bangkok are underwater. And now they are trying to live with water. And so there are many other cities.
Jakarta is also going down.
Correct. 50 more cities. And um, so coming back to what the topic was, right, about this fresh water, whatever we are facing today is all thanks to man's greed. I would say that we never paid attention to the Mother Earth, who's been so kind to us, and we exploited it, and we are paying for it. And
Right.
we need to correct the situation. If you don't correct the situation, we are headed for some very difficult times.
Yes.
And I think the point of view of entrepreneurship and startups, I think these startups can play a major role now by bringing innovation to prevent or to arrest these kind of.
Any one thing you want to leave it as an advice to startup ecosystems, not startups, right?
Yeah,
Because you've been collaborating with a lot of ecosystems. So, what
yeah,
one thing you think they must and should be doing?
yeah. One thing which I notice, I'm talking about from the Indian ecosystem point of view, is that we all have to collaborate. As of now, we tend to compete. So if you were to give a certain kind of weightage towards, certain, I would call it like a score, we are now almost 80% we are competing, only 20% we are collaborating. It should be the other way around. And then you just see the magic will happen. India will be unbeatable. And here I want to bring up, another interesting, say, some study that was done, is that the whole ecosystem, right? We have to play a role of, if you know this relay race, the whole ecosystem has to support the entrepreneur. And that means right from the time, the idea comes up in an entrepreneur, somebody has to coach, mentor, bring it to the next level through the incubators. And from the incubators, it gets some kind of, let's say, MVP, and, you get support to build it, validate it, demo that. And then, you can perfect it, come to an accelerator, and then the accelerator will help you to scale it up faster, get you the money, get you the customers, all that, happens. The early stage customers, the early paying customers, all that will come, and the scaling will happen through these kind of accelerators, super accelerators, etc. And then the company can grow, hire more people, contribute to the local economy. So I'm just saying that this whole value chain that I explained to you is something one
Just achievable
organization.
only collaborating. Oh, somebody's doing that?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm just saying that one organization or one individual can only do so much. But if we all can collaborate, right, we can make a great impact. And I want to go to the old adage or proverb, right, which says it takes an entire village to raise a child. And same way, it takes an entire ecosystem to raise an entrepreneur, to raise a startup. So this is what I want to leave you the message with, that think about that we are an entire village. The whole ecosystem is a village. And that entrepreneur is that child. We all have to support. We all have to, take him, into our wings and help him, embrace him, and help him to overcome him or her, to overcome those challenges. So this is how it should be in all our minds, that we have to play a role of
Perfect.
being a supporter, embrace that, because entrepreneurship is a very, very hard journey, I can tell you,
I
and
think
it's a
it's
very
a.
lonely journey.
I understand. I think you've also been having a fairly lonely journey, even as an ecosystem player, driving the innovation and collaboration.
I
Whereas I
completely
think
agree with you. It's
let's
a lone
uh,
crusade. It's a lone
correct.
crusade, so to
I think
say.
we need to change that for sure. We need to figure out how do we address the elephant in the in the room, because everybody wants to collaborate. Nobody collaborates per se.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think, and you've brought in some great frameworks to collaborate. So
yeah,
I think it's time that more people, uh, you know, take it upon. And in fact, this is a time where we talk to startup founders and say that figure out how do we collaborate as an entrepreneur. Let's collaborate instead of looking at competing with another venture. And here, ecosystems competing, it just defeats the whole purpose. So absolutely, and I think what a uh, I think it sounds very awkward for me to be speaking so much after the statement you made, where one village, it takes a village to bring up a child, and it takes all the ecosystems to bring up a successful entrepreneur. So I think uh, it is great, and I'm just uh, 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 so thankful for you. And I think we've crossed the time you had, and I know you have to rush to another meeting as well. Thank you so much once again, Varad, and we'll connect again soon to discuss our your future take on your future, and the risks and the challenges and potentially opportunities. Because obviously you will not leave it at risk. You will take it to the possible opportunities out of the list for us. So I'll come back to you. And once again, thank you and all the audience and listeners. If you have any questions, I do urge you to connect. We'll share the links and also social links of Varad. Please feel free to write to him. Do reach us, and anything we could facilitate, connect back to Varad to bring up. If you have questions that you wish I'd asked, we'll do that. And uh, thank you so much once again, and uh, enjoy the ride.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you so much, Nanju. I really enjoyed talking to you. And like you said, let's help do our bit, for the entrepreneurs. I hope people benefited from this talk. And like you said, it's just the beginning. We need to do a lot more. And let's be the harbinger of those change. Let's start the change. Thank you so much.
Perfect.